Hey everybody, it's Comic Book Realtor here. I'm here with my good friend and also one of the great lenders, Natalie Bueno. How you doing, Natalie?
I'm doing well. How are you, Abe?
Doing good, doing good. Just enjoying the SoCal weather today.
Yeah, it's nice. It's actually pretty decent today, I feel.
I know we've had about 100-degree weather the last 2 weeks, so
Yeah,
good to
it's
have a
been hot,
break.
hot, hot.
Same thing like the market right now too.
Yeah, it's been a great market.
So I wanted to bring Natalie in because she specializes in hard money and private money loans, correct?
Yes,
Also,
I'm a
kind of break.
private money specialist.
Wow, that's how you know you're the best. So I wanted to bring her in because there's a lot of confusion out there for private money as well as hard money. And for me as a realtor, it's also important to always kind of keep learning because there might be circumstances where I might have to use that for a client or a client might not realize that is an option. So I wanted to bring someone who's familiar with it as well as to kind of go into it. However, before we start, I wanted to ask you, like, what made you want to do this type of profession and career for you?
So, great question. I actually started in the real estate industry when I was 18 years old. I started scanning foreclosures. That was my first job, just scanning, making copies, unstapling,
Intern, basically.
really low intern level. I was a escrow's assistant, so I was like bottom of the barrel. And I told myself, oh, this is just a temporary job. I won't be doing this. I'm going to be working for a Morgan Stanley. I won't ever do this. Here I am still dealing with foreclosures.
But from a different point of view.
From a different point of view. And then I did end up working at Morgan Stanley. I worked there for about 5 years. And while I was on the Morgan Stanley side, I actually specialized in personal lines of credit. So those were a little different than a mortgage where we lent basically off of their securities, their bonds and securities. So
It's
it was
good.
very interesting.
So, what made you shift to what it is with hard money and private money now? Because the reason I bring it up is lately, like you brought up in your presentation, which, by the way, if you ever get a chance, please stop by.
Thank you.
You were saying that that's an option for many consumers. However, like myself, even with other people out there, there's a lot of misconfusion. Or let's say the information's valid, and yet it's not like a one size fits all. It's not a cookie cutter.
Absolutely. Every scenario is very different. And the way I kind of, specialize myself compared to a traditional hard money lender or even a traditional lender is that every private money loan comes with a story. And I always tell everyone I work with, what is the strength? What is the weakness? What is the strength that we can, pitch to the investor? And the weakness, what's the solution for it? So if they have bad credit, how are we going to get them to qualify for good credit? Are they going to go into credit repair? Are they going to pay off debt? Is this a short-term loan? Is this a long-term loan? So there's so many questions that need to be answered before I can put that story together. And I've actually broken it down into a little template where I've had it where Instagram scenarios come to me. Somebody sends me a scenario on Instagram. Hey, I saw that you posted about closing that loan in 3 days. What do I need to qualify for that? And then I'll kind of break it down, purchase price, the as is value, the ARV value, and all these acronyms. If you don't know them, I can definitely break it down even further because I know for first time investors, they don't necessarily know the difference between the as is value
Versus
and the
repaired. So in other words, what's
Exactly.
the value as the property as it's now versus what it is? Because you do have to, besides creating the budget, how much the repairs are going to cost, as well as if the property has any liens and taxes. Because I know some people, when they purchase property, it's usually through auctions. Sometimes the city sells them and they do that.
Probate,
Probate.
there's all kinds. Divorce, death, you name it. Every scenario is going to be different. When I get those, cookie cutter flip loans, it's like it's 1 out of 10. It's a really low ratio where it's like an experienced investor just needs to come in with the money down. Great, we can help them with that, but that's really not our specialty. Me and my team, we specialize in the creative financing. The Alt A is what we call it, the B paper, and I call myself a B paper specialist because I don't focus on the A paper. Even on the flip side, there's A paper buyers, there's B paper buyers. I help those B paper buyers. I help those, creative guys where, hey, I need to help my daughter start investing. She can't do it herself right now, but let me go ahead and help her get started. I have my investment property. Maybe we could put a lien on this property, or maybe I take out some equity out of here and help her credit towards her first down payment.
And that's important because I understand life sometimes does get in the way. Again, I've had scenarios, and you probably have scenarios where the people you're helping, hopefully they'll become not just lifelong customers but friends, where life does get in the way, something happens to them, they have to
Oh,
look at
yes.
other options, you know. And that's the good thing in some ways of hard versus in private money is they're there when sometimes you can't qualify conventionally with FHA, your credit, or sometimes maybe you brought up earlier, foreclosure can also be an issue. So
Yeah.
it is not an option that I wouldn't recommend people not look into. I would just recommend be more informed, or if you want to make it easier, just call Natalie and she'll take care of it for you.
Yeah, and just know your options. Know the difference between the private money, the hard money, the soft money, all the money, right? And that's kind of what today's Lunch and Learn was about, was kind of just giving an intro, to conventional, soft, and private and hard. But, we're going to be doing a series out of it. We're going to be teaching a little bit more, going into detail on soft money, going into a little more detail on private money. One of the main differences, though, that I like to help, just inform is if they're asking for a prepay, it's usually either an Alt-A product that's going to be a long-term of an adjustable rate mortgage, or it's going to be a hard money loan. And when it's past 10% and they're asking for prepay, usually it's a hard money loan.
And people here are saying that, oh, 5-6% interest rate for a loan is very high. No, try imagining when it's 10 to 12 in many cases.
Yes, yes.
So,
When you have your second and third lien and you're asking to refinance one, first, second, and third, and you're late on third, yeah, might jump up to 12%. Just saying.
buyer beware in some cases. So besides that, with whole private versus money, what are some other scenarios where your team can be an asset to many people? I say you work with a lot of investors, but what's another tool you can offer them, or another reason for them to choose you over their preferred people that they have in mind as well?
Sure. So, like I said, I don't compete with the hard money lender. If we can assist with the temporary financing, of course, on the bridge loan, that's where we can step in. But, you asked me a question earlier about why I jumped into this business. And, my father was an entrepreneur growing up, 32 years, entrepreneur, self-made. And I really got into the business to help entrepreneurs because I started with his financing in the beginning. I started helping him. When I started seeing how much they were charging, as a finance, major, I started realizing, I'm like, well, let me make sure you're getting a good deal. And then I started working, with lenders that were specializing on the hard money side. And so he gave me his first deals to finance. Then I started doing some friends of his, and I started doing some friends of friends. And then I started going to events, meeting more people. And I just think, going back to the root of it, why people prefer working with me is because I can pitch the story for you. I get all the details, I get all the facts, and I make sure that I'm putting it in the right program. I'm not the person who's going to force somebody to do a hard money loan when I know they can do an Alt-A bank statement loan. And I might not be able to do it, right? It might be a conventional lender who's going to have to do that program. But I look at my client's best interest in mind, and I'm always going to let them know, hey, this is your other option. You don't have to go, private money. You don't have to go hard money. And I think they look at that and they're like, wow, she really cares. She's not just putting me in some program to make a couple bucks. And, if I do that and they're unhappy, I don't build that relationship.
And I think that's becoming more common in our field, not just as an entrepreneur, and despite what we both have different, we work in the same circles, but we have two different sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think what really matters is, like you were saying about the story, also to kind of help them create their own story or improve it,
Mm-hmm.
because that's something else that, I don't know if it's the same situation with you, but for me, when I meet a client and they've said, thank you for helping me in this process, your work matters. And I think for you, like, that's something that people get to see when they meet you. Even if, let's say, for example, you're unable to help them or refer them to someone else, they at least know that you're genuine with your intent. And I bring it up because, like realtors, sometimes lenders have bad reputations as well. And it's not to say that you didn't do anything wrong. It's just the assumption people have. However, I think with what you bring to them is one example to show, look, here's someone who really does genuinely care about, making sure that you keep your home, or making sure that the investment that you're looking to create a family and a legacy is important as well.
Absolutely. And that's, I work with a lot of clients that are in foreclosures. I work with clients that have a lot of high debt, whatever it may be. They don't qualify for some reason. There's a small box that clients have to fit into on the conventional side. They need to have good credit, they need to have a good strong down payment, and they need to be able to show some strong income. And if you're missing one of those three, it's tough. You If bad credit, you don't even qualify, right? Income, it's either you're living in Downey or you're living in, Lake Elsinore, right? There's a difference. And when it comes to the down payment, that's going to depend on which program you're going to go into. So, and how high your monthly payment's going to be or low, whatever, you're trying to do there. Of course, we all want that low payment, low interest rate, low as little down as possible. And just like my investors, they want 100% financing, they want 0% interest, 0 points, right? I mean, they just want me to write my check and give them the money to own their next investment property. But life isn't worked that way. So we just have to be aware of what's out there, what's offered. Because sometimes I will see an entrepreneur that could qualify for a bank statement program, and they're coming to me to refinance a private money loan. I have a lady who has a portfolio of 12 properties right now.
Wow.
And we're working on strategizing a blanket loan, which is basically kind of putting them all together in some sense of a similar program. So, she came to me and said, well, the last guy was really greedy and put me in a hard money loan. I'm sure, that happens, unfortunately. But, the way I'm earning her trust is kind of showing her the alternative routes. Does it take more work?
Of course.
Yes. Does it take more time? Does it take me holding her hand a little bit more? But, it's kind of that's what draws me apart, sets me apart from a traditional, hard money lender, because I'm not just, oh, you don't fit the property, you're not sending that, click, buy, right?
It's not black and white. You see them as a person. You don't see them as a number or a profit or a deal. You see them as, this person's lived in the home for 15 years, they've been married, they have 2 kids, and basically you see them as who they are, and that's part of how you...
I treat my clients as if they were like my Morgan Stanley clients. I still send them, birthday texts. I send them thank you cards. Who do you know who's looking to invest? Call me. So I'm very much in tune with my past clients. Just because they're investors doesn't mean that they can't be treated the same way as a traditional client.
Mm-hmm. So, and then besides that, what do you feel, because you also spoke how, not just in qualifying, but I mean, like I brought up too, as well as, sometimes life does get in the way.
Of course.
And we're in a field where we literally have to hustle and earn our worth. I mean, I'm part of it, and we laugh, but we know it's a reality. But what would you recommend for someone who wants to be an entrepreneur? It doesn't matter the field that they're in, but what are 3 things that you feel is important to either keep motivating yourself or someone that would ask you, what do I need to do? Apologies. Sorry, that's my new car. But what would you recommend, at least 3 things or 3 traits or characteristics for someone to have if they want to be in a field where they have to become their own business owner?
So I was pretty much used to a W-2, a nice salary for, a good 5 years. And even when I switched over to conventional lending, which I tried last year, and it's not my cup of tea. So hats off to all the traditional lenders out there. But even that was technically still W-2. And so this year was my first year truly going entrepreneur, 1099 by myself, even though I've owned my own entity for the past couple of years. And just going through that, number one, you need to have integrity. And I think that's the only way honest business people work. You see these lenders that, maybe they have higher interest rates, but for some reason they've stuck around, they get the business, right? Because they have integrity. And I think that's one of the most important characteristics in a small entrepreneur is having that. Because if you're just doing it for the sale, you're just like anyone else. There's really what's the difference between a Nordstrom and a Walmart, right? They're both selling something, but at Nordstrom there's integrity. You take your receipt, hey, it didn't fit right, okay, well, they ask you why. They're asking, they care. It's not because they're like, oh, well, they don't want to lose the sale. No one does. But they're going to ask you a little more detail. And then they're going to show you an alternative. Walmart, it's like, if I forgot my receipt, I'm not so well. Yeah, I'm not so well. They don't care. I'm a number to them. And so I feel like that's one of the main ones. Belief, just having a passion for what you do, truly being able to understand that you're making a difference. I sell 10% interest rates, but guess what? It didn't bother me anymore when I had my first client that had told me 10% is less expensive than my credit card. And when I realized that I'm helping them save more money for their debt consolidation, that's when I realized, okay, yeah, this isn't just, a high interest loan. I'm not making that 10%. my investor is, right? My investor clients, their portfolio is. But when I look at it as if it's something that's going to solve the solution, then I feel comfortable. I actually feel happy giving them that loan because I know I'm helping them out. And the third thing is just consistency, which I think we all in this industry, we're a roller coaster, right?
You have to be persistently consistent,
Yes.
as they say.
So persistence will get you there. Consistency will keep you there, and that's something I've learned from a really great, mentor of mine. And he's always said that. He says that every morning at our daily classes. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that we, just have to be consistent with the follow-ups, consistent with the passion, consistent with everything, right? So yeah, those are the three things.
And then I think also to add on to that, it's not a two-way but it's also for the consumer too, because if they, for example, they hear, oh, their loan can be 10% interest rates, many of them shut down because they're not seeing the potential value or the loan. So you also have to be consistent, not just with your business, but also for the consumer. They have to be consistent with their dream. If they really want to have an investment property, if they want to own it, they basically have to walk in some level a mile in our shoes to kind of understand what we do for them, but also the process too.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also important, and a lot of people don't realize that we made a trade-off. I'm happy getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. However, you say it's a comfort, but at the same time, that's what makes our work also more rewarding. Is we do put everything on the line for our consumers and our clients, and like I'm seeing right now, like she's actually very happy. She's smiling a lot about it. I've never seen her smile this much. So, but it's just to highlight, sometimes it's just a simple thank you, because some people, like you spoke of, see it, oh, it's a deal, but we see it as a lifestyle, and if we make friends out of it, if they become part of our family, that's also important too, because yes, it's a business, we want to help them, but to show that we made that big of a difference in someone's life is also important too, so.
Absolutely. Like I said, I mean, I just did my mid-year client checkups. I went and personally hand-delivered them. And some of them are rehab projects, where they're flipping them. And they're like, oh my gosh, come look at the flooring I just put in. They're excited. This is a project for them. They're so happy to, work on something. Some of these guys are semi-retired, women, same thing. Some of them are first-time investors. Some of them are experienced investors, right? I have one who just finished. We funded the loan in late March, and he's already paying it off. I think he just paid it off today. So awesome. I mean, experienced investor, but still, he called me. I'm so happy. I sold it so quickly, and it makes me happy to know that, hey, that profit he just made is going to go into the next investment. But at the same time, he's helping putting his daughter in school, in college. That's important for me to know that I helped facilitate something that could help pay for that.
So, and then, for example, if people want to get in touch with you, Natalie, I mean, I'll leave the contact information there, but let's say if they wanted to call you or email you, what would be the best way to reach you?
So I'm big on social media. If you guys want to follow Bueno Loans on my Instagram, I'm always posting on there my motivational daily quotes. I try to post them at around the same time every single morning, because that's how I start. I motivate myself in the morning to be excited even on the tough days when it's not so exciting. And all my contact information is there. Facebook, I'm big on there as well. And buenoloans@gmail.com is my email. And do I need to say my phone number?
If you like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still put the contact info, but sometimes it's better to hear from the source.
562-644-6884. Local gal here. So yeah, give me a call if you have any of those non-traditional scenarios that maybe they don't fit into that little box, and we can see if we can find something that can be an alternative solution.
And any last parting words you want to say, Natalie, either as a as a lender? This is what happens when you don't have a Dr. Pepper in the morning. I apologize, but do you have any last parting words that you want to suggest, either to someone who's, like I said earlier, interested in maybe starting a business, or maybe they're struggling themselves, or maybe a possible consumer that you feel would end today
Sure.
on a good note?
I think as an entrepreneur, you're always going to struggle. If you have it where it's easy, it's not really, you're not self-building it, right? Because you have to be able to build that marketing. You have to be able to build, the database, the software to support the database, the paperwork, the attorney fees, everything, right? It all adds up. My parting advice, Is what it was? Okay, I'm just making sure.
It's okay.
I would just say, really believe in the idea. And if you are looking to, start investing, maybe it's something you've thought about. And I have a lot of people who are around my age, who are like, well, I don't have enough down. And you've mentioned it's 20%. That's why we did the series, the class earlier was the roadmap to investing, because it's important to buy your home first. It's important to get the traditional home, build the equity, start with the equity that you can build off of there. Or if you can't do that and you see such a good deal and you want to get started, find a partner that you can partner up with, somebody that you trust, a silent partner, somebody that's experienced in the business. And, third case, I just kind of look at it. If you can't invest in it, find someone who does invest and charge your fee, and make some money. Don't do things for free. That's what I really do believe, that you can go ahead and provide value to somebody else. Maybe, I know it's a deal that I can't personally do. Maybe it's something you can do, but, we can negotiate something where we can go ahead and work it out, because that's, it's something where you can kind of still, bring the deal, bring the opportunity, and not do it for free.
Not do it for free, but also make sure that that you have an opportunity, because for many people, you probably know and I've known that they're scared of it.
Yes.
It is a very big decision. I mean, even
Yes.
for people that are familiar with it. But at the end of the day, it's better to have the opportunity and take it and say, okay, you know what, I'm glad I did, versus I wish I could have. Because markets change, sometimes life changes, but at the end of the day, sometimes you've got to take a chance to go forward. Either that or life will come in and do that for you as well.
Of course.
So.
And if, like I said, if it's a good deal and you have an investor that pick their brain. Most of these investors are really nice and they're willing to share their knowledge, because nobody wants to see somebody fail. And if they have, they had a bad experience with the city permits or something, they're going to warn you. In fact, my first class was, 3 experienced investors giving tips on what not to do, how to invest from the start correctly. So you'd be surprised, they're always willing to share information.
So anyway, guys, want to say thank you again, Natalie, for stopping by.
Of course.
I mean, again, I'll leave her contact info. She said as well. If you have any real estate needs, call, text, email, get in touch. Oh, and I did want to bring up, just as a joke, but not serious, you didn't give me the recipe for that lasagna. I know you told me it was in San Francisco.
Oh.
So I follow her Instagram too, but she's always showing great food places. So that's another reason to follow.
Yeah.
And not because it's lunchtime.
Big foodie.
Big foodie. All right, thanks, Natalie, for
All right.
stopping by.
Bye.